Look, man, let's cut right to the chase. Regardless if you're planning out your first psychedelic trip, or maybe you're watching this with a bunch of other different experiences already in your bag along the way, in today's video, we're gonna be breaking down the whole experience of psychedelics, the whole journey into the psychedelic realm. So without further ado, let's break this bitch down real quick like a brick for y'all. Now, what you need to know if you're someone that's planning out their first psychedelic trip, or again, if you're just tuning into this because you want to listen to maybe some of my experiences and stuff like that, is that psychedelics will show you your true self. Let me say that again. Psychedelics will show you your true self. And you might be wondering, what does that mean? What do you mean it's going to show me my true self? I thought this is my true self. Well, in this physical world, this material world, where we have this physical vessel, the body, this physical instrument to actually operate within this realm, we attach ourselves to everything that coincides with it. We think we are the body. We think we are the mind. Some people are only stuck in the concept that they are the body, but some people elevate to understanding that they have a mind. But a lot of people, again, attach to that. Psychedelics, what they'll do is rip off both those layers and get you right to the core, your spirit, your soul. I always like to kind of make this analogy that the body is like a car. This physical vessel is the vehicle. The mind is the steering wheel that pulls it this direction, that direction, reverse, whatever. You know what I mean? But the spirit, the soul, is who's in the driver's seat. Yet a lot of people don't even realize that there even is a driver's seat, that there even is a car, that there's even a steering wheel. Someone else's programming is in the driver's seat. And the spirit or the soul is stuck in the passenger. It's until you awaken that, maybe it's through psychedelics, that your soul, your spirit, kicks that motherfucker out of the driver's seat like some GTA shit and gets back in charge. That takes back control of your life. You're no longer being pulled and directed by other people's thoughts and opinions and their overall agendas, but you're actually using your own mind, your own body for your own spiritual development, for your own spiritual evolution. Because at the end of the day, regardless of all the material pursuits that you might have, it's all about spiritual evolution for each and every single one of us. To liberate ourselves from our lower nature and tap into our highest potential on all planes of reality. This is what psychedelics did for me. This is why I can make this analogy. This is what psychedelics was showing to me in my first couple experiences. That I'm not the body. And when I started meditating, I understood that, okay, yeah, I'm not the body, but am I the mind? No, then I got deeper into psychedelics and that whole illusion went away. Then you understand you're the soul. And then when you get into deeper and deeper and deeper levels, you understand that the soul, the spirit, is an individualized part of the collective consciousness. It's like one wave within the ocean, but you are the ocean. You just think that you are one wave in it. Even when you get into a spiritual awakening. This is when the whole practice and whole concept and philosophy of non-dualism comes into play. Non-duality comes into play. So when you start piecing these things up together, your whole view and paradigm of the world is going to shift. This is what you need to understand before you take a psychedelic trip. A lot of people are not willing or okay to have their ego just be pulled into pieces, ripped into shreds. And when I say that, a lot of people might think like, why would anyone want that? Why would anyone want their ego to be ripped to shreds? It sounds awful. It sounds like I'm getting my limbs and fucking legs and arms ripped apart. Well, it's not the fact that you're the ego's enemy. I never want you to think that, because the ego can be used to your advantage. It just defends and protects whatever it's programmed to protect. You've been programmed subconsciously to protect the ego in the materialistic realm, the materialistic side of life. I'm this tall, I'm from this place, my name is this, I'm this ethnicity. That's the ego that you have, that's the personality you have that the ego defends. It creates like like a barrier, force field around it. Anything that targets and actually makes you think about that and actually makes you question that personality, the ego will just make it seem like that's a threat. And then you go into fight or flight mode. This is why people, maybe if they grew up religious or they grew up very fanatical with something in their life, maybe it's a sports team, maybe it's, again, religion, and something challenges that view, they get super defensive because it feels like an evolutionary attack. It feels like an actual attack on their bloodline, their lineage, their actual livelihood, because their personality is so attached to that, and the ego, again, will make that barrier. So when you actually reveal that barrier and actually take it away, you go right to the source of yourself, the true self. This is what I'm trying to say. How psychedelics will show you your true self, because these compounds, man, are so fucking powerful. So fucking powerful. And this is why you can't treat them like smoking weed, even though I think even weed is a mild psychedelic once you get into psychedelics. When you first started smoking weed, probably you were like me, you were just doing it like with your fucking friends in a parking lot. That's the best way I can put it. Like, if you can imagine that, like, you understand what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. All the homies in a parking lot smoking weed. That's literally the epitome of high school and like early college. You know what I mean? So that is a shitty way to treat these substances. And if you treat psychedelics like that, if you take psychedelics and you go in a parking lot, man, you're gonna geek out, you're gonna freak out. It's not gonna be a good time. And this is why I made an entire guide on how to take psychedelics for psychological and spiritual growth that we're talking about right here on the private Patreon community. Shout out to the fucking private Patreon community. If you want access to full guides like that, exclusive videos where we're breaking down ancient texts, we're getting into deeper topics, get access to occult lectures, the monthly masterminds, which we're going to be doing 2 every single month. Yes, sir, 2 a month now. We're upping it from 1 to 2 times a month, where we gather together for the people who are in the Philosopher's Circle tier membership within the private Patreon community. We gather along together in a live call. You can ask me any question you want, and we just converse with a community of like-minded men who are also on this path of self-mastery, who also want to understand how to use psychedelics for spiritual and psychological growth, not just go take them at a fucking rave and geek out and think they had a bad trip and this and that, but actually using these tools, using these medicines, using things like fasting, using things like, of course, semen retention, and all these types of things to elevate themselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Again, that tier membership comes with a full group chat, again, that you're going to be able to contact with me and where I have direct communication. But all that stuff is going to be posted in the pinned comment of this video. I'm talking about the private Patreon community link, a link to apply for personalized coaching, one-on-one coaching, do one-on-one consultation calls, the weekly newsletters, free community Discord, all that good stuff is posted in the pinned comment of this video. But what I was saying is that in that guide, in the private Patreon community, that I talk about how to use psychedelics for spiritual and psychological growth, there's different kind of perspectives that you need to have in mind before you go into the psychedelic trip. What is the intention? What is your actual what do you see that's kind of blocking you from that? Because what the psychedelics will do is take whatever it is in your subconscious mind that you've thrown in the back of your closet, basically, that you don't want to deal with, all the turmoil, all the trauma, all the this, all of that, and bring it into your conscious reality. And it's going to do that in very unique ways. It might do that in different entities or different forms or different things that make you understand that what this problem or issue it is that you're facing. Like, you might have a vision of maybe a family member with like some dead weight, or like like back in the day where there was like chains locked onto people's leg and there's like a big like weighted ball at the end. You might see like a family member with that, and that might be thinking like, oh man, fuck, like that makes sense. That person, quote unquote, is acting as like dead weight for me in my spiritual path, because they're trying to bring me down. They're saying, oh man, this pursuit's not gonna work. What the fuck are you doing, this and that? That's how it kind of communicates with you. It communicates with you on the lunar aspect of your mind. The lunar aspect is the subconscious mind. the subconscious mind is the feminine mind, is the creative mind, is the one that imagines, the part of you that has intuition. So it's not going to tell you, hey bro, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to do this. That's more the masculine side of your brain that gives you these analytical, straightforward, logical overall directions. It doesn't talk to you like that. Some substances, which I like to kind of break down, I broke it down in that guide of how they have a specific energy to them. Some of them have a more masculine energy to them. Some of them will have more feminine energy to them. But most of the time, it's more on the feminine side, and you're tapping into the lunar aspect. And this is what you're tapping into when you lucid dream. This is when you tap into astral projection. So psychedelics are in that same category, in that same file cabinet. An altered state of consciousness where you're tapping into the subconscious mind. Because all those layers, like I said before, the personality and all that stuff, your identity, all that jazz is in the subconscious mind. And the ego is a barrier around it. Once you take off the ego, which is like a door into the subconscious mind, then you really get to see what's really happening within the back of your head. And that really directs and pinpoints where your life is gonna go. A lot of people don't realize that their subconscious mind is literally like the captain of the ship. All that programming, all that data, you're running on that 90% of the time. You're consciously, you're making decisions here and there, but the subconscious mind takes you to certain choices that you have to make that decision. Like a good analogy again is, if I close off all the lights in your house, turn off all the lights in your house, and I tell you, go to the bathroom, brush your teeth. Hopefully you're doing it enough to the point where you know where the toothbrush is, where the bathroom is, regardless of the light, because you've been subconsciously programmed your body to do that every single night. So you don't need light to help you. Your body kind of just knows the footsteps, the traces it needs to do. It knows where to grab on the counter of your bathroom, even though it can't see. So the same thing applies to your personality, your identity, your mind, your subconscious mind already has these programming set. So even if you consciously can't do it, it is doing it for you. And this can lead to a lot of negative feedback loops, a lot of negative effects in your life, because most of the time, 90%, 99% of the time, the programming you have right now are not yours. Let me say that again. The programming you have right now are not yours. Your psyche has been hijacked by society. I have a whole video about that here on this second channel, What the Fulani. Make sure you go run it up after this, because there's a lot more details I get into that. But society and the programming around you, whether it's from your friends, from family, from social media, from school and all that stuff, is giving you this identity, this persona that your ego is kind of protecting. But that's not the true you. That's why psychedelics, like I said in the beginning of this video, will tear that apart and show you the true you, show you your true purpose, show you a side of reality and a side of this human experience that's more real than this. That is how powerful it is. When you really get deep into the psychedelic experience, you feel like you are brought into another world. But that world is more real than this. This is why people, quote unquote, cannot grasp and they cannot handle that psychedelic experience. They might fry out, they might crash out after. Because one, they're not grounded enough with other practices, other spiritual things that we do, like meditation, like pranayama, like retention, like just self-reflection, all that stuff. That's like the base foundation. Psychedelics are a supplement, just like your diet. Your diet is a base foundation. You're not going to base your whole diet off supplements. You're going to have nothing, no grounded material to build upon. You can't build up a good body. You can't build up good health like that. And you can't build up spiritual growth with just psychedelics. You need the base level foundation. This is why before you take psychedelics, you need to actually pursue these types of things. I didn't. I was younger. I just jumped straight into it because I was so curious about it. But again, I've gone through the ups and downs of that experience. That's why I made that whole guide for the people out there who are truly curious about this, because I know for a fact you're probably like me as a younger guy. I was gonna take it regardless of if I watch a video talking about all this stuff or not. So instead of just jumping straight into the deep end, I'm not telling you not to jump straight into the deep end. I'm not telling you to jump straight into the deep end with the psychedelic world. But somebody can give you, hey bro, when you jump off this cliff, this area is a little bit better to jump in. It's deeper. It's like you won't hit the floor. You know what I mean? Or jump off this angle and it's the best. That's what the guide, and this is what this video is all about, kind of. You know what I mean? I'm trying to just make analogies to the point where you can click in your mind so you can pick up what the fuck I'm putting down. You dig what I'm saying? So if you kind of are just in that mode where you're like, I'm gonna take it, man. I'm gonna take whatever it is, and maybe it's your first trip. And again, maybe some of you guys are out there watching this that are even more developed on the psychedelic realm than I am, but you understand the concepts I'm saying. There's certain spiritual practices, certain just overall lifestyle changes and habits that you need to put in place to truly get the most benefit out of the psychedelic trip. Because at the end of the day, like I've made a video on this channel talking about, they're like steroids for spirituality. They are steroids for spirituality. Steroids or a shortcut, whatever one works for you. To me, steroids makes more sense because when you take steroids and you go to the gym, you accelerate your muscle growth process. You accelerate the strength development process. But when you're off the steroids, you go back to baseline. You might keep some gains from that cycle, but you're not gonna keep all of it. Same thing with psychedelics. You're gonna get accelerated so much on the spiritual level. Your consciousness is gonna raise to such a high level. But when you come back to reality, when all the afterglow effects stop, it's about how much did you actually retain. That's why it's so important to actually reintegrate all the things that you learned, which is another section in that full guide that I talked about in the private Patreon community. Reintegration is the most important, because this stuff will shoot you to those highest levels of consciousness that these yogis, that these sages, that these ascended masters, that these most self-realized men on the planet work years and years and years to accomplish through spiritual practices, through spiritual sadhana, through different just overall methods and tools to elevate themselves on that level of consciousness. That's why there's a couple of stories we'll break down right now. How if you know who Ram Dass is, Ram Dass kind of like a more modern day spiritual guru, if you want to call him that, or spiritual teacher, just spiritual, or just a mystic, if you want to call him that. He was a Harvard University professor. He started having like a midlife crisis to the point where he wanted to see what more was there in life. He took LSD and he's like, oh man, what the fuck is this? What did I just experience? And then he went in this whole rabbit hole of trying to understand the mystic path and the spiritual path and all that good stuff. And he eventually went to India. In India, he brought a vial of acid, a vial of LSD liquid. So if you've taken acid before, you know that it's in a blotter sheet. It's a tab. It's like a little piece of paper that you pop in your mouth. But what they do is drop the acid on top of it. He brought that whole motherfucking thing. So they put one drop on each one of those pieces of paper. He gave 10 drops of that, so 10 tabs, which is like a ridiculous amount, to a yogi, to a guru, Neem Karoli Baba, who became his eventual guru. And he was like chilling. And he was like, yeah, I've been to that place before. And he was like, what the fuck do you mean you've been to that place before? What do you mean you've been to that place before? You've never tried acid, you never tried shrooms, you never tried DMT. How did you get there naturally? It's a higher level of consciousness these people get to. And he said to him, bro, meditation, when you get deep into meditation, it's even better than that. It's even better than that. But what the psychedelics can do, again, is show you your true self and give you a quick taste of what these higher levels of consciousness are all about. Give you a little glimpse of what you can tap into with this human vessel when you actually start to ascend to high levels of consciousness through other practices naturally. Semen retention, pranayama, meditation, all the good habits like biohacking, getting out in the sun, eating a good diet. All these things stack up to the point where you raise your level of consciousness to the point where you can experience those states, experience that spiritual ecstasy, and experience that euphoria throughout your day-to-day life. And guess what? That bleeds on over to everything else. Remember, everything about this channel, this brand, this message is about mastering the mind, body, and soul to become the best version of ourselves, to master the self. So when you're operating on a higher level of consciousness, it doesn't mean that you're going to become a monk and just go out and just be an aesthetic and just never be part of society, but those higher levels of consciousness will allow you to tap into higher levels of intuition, which is going to help you innovate, whether that helps you with your business, your career path, your financial gains, your relationships, your social skills. This is all packaged into the higher level of consciousness. This is the rewards you get. I always talk about how the spiritual realm is the highest realm. When you start to access the powers, when you start to access your ability to tap into those spiritual senses, then that trickles down over to improving you psychologically on the mental plane. And like we said before, the mental plane, the mental aspect is the steering wheel of the car. So when you start to get better control of that by tapping into spiritual practices, by detaching yourself from the body, the animalistic impulses and the chatter of the mind, but actually ascending beyond that through psychedelics and all that stuff that might give you a little glimpse, like we said before, then you tap into the ability to have more control over the body, because the mind will receive signals from the spirit world, from the etheric plane, and that will allow you to be able to operate better on the mental plane, which manifests itself onto the physical plane. This is all a chain connection, and they all work together. This is why I like to call it the Holy Trinity, the mind, body, and soul. That is, to me, the true Holy Trinity for this experience that we call life. But again, psychedelics allow you to shoot cut all that stuff and get right to the source, get right to the spiritual realm. But you need to reintegrate all that stuff back into your day-to-day life. That's why these yogis, that's why these saints, that's why these sages can tap into quote-unquote spiritual power cities, where they can read people's minds. They can have deep senses of intuition. They can predict the future, clairvoyance. Imagine, for example, you have higher states of consciousness and you're a day trader. You can kind of predict the market better. You can kind of see things happening before they happen because you are tapping, your mind is so expanded. You're going from limited to limitless. Let me say that again. You're going from limited mind, the limited mind, to tapping into the limitless mind, the infinite intelligence, not the finite intelligence, which is what us humans have. We have the access to tap into the infinite intelligence, but most of us don't even know about it, or second of all, think it's bullshit, or third of all, don't actually put the time, effort, and energy to actually improve on the spiritual side of reality to tap into that. So that, in a sense, is what this psychedelic experience can do for you, man. It's truly a life-changing experience if you really take it like that, and you actually integrate the stuff we talk about here. Or if you want to tap into the private Patreon community, check out the full guide. We have a bunch of full guides coming out for many different things. I'm talking about fasting, I'm talking about astral projection, lucid dreaming. We're breaking out ancient texts. There's an esoteric library in there, full digital library. So much stuff in there, especially for the men out there who are truly serious about actually gaining the knowledge and actually applying it into their lives. So when you start to take this seriously, and you use a psychedelic as a ritual, as a ceremony, as a actual way to elevate yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually, you're gonna tap into, like I said, another world. And that world is gonna feel more real than here. That's why previously on this channel, I made a video talking about spiritual awakening or psychosis. How can you tell the difference? You can't, because it's the same thing. Psychosis is when you shift your psyche to a complete different thing. You don't believe what you previously were in. A spiritual awakening is the same thing, and it might be induced through psychedelics. A Kundalini awakening, which is completely different from a spiritual awakening, might be induced through psychedelics. You need to be careful with these compounds. You need to have respect for these compounds, and you need to understand the power behind them. Like I just said with that analogy with the yogis, there's other ones too, that where guys go out to India again, or different parts of the world, or Tibet, these more Eastern mystic paths, and they give them like 5-MeO DMT, which is one of the strongest fucking psychedelics ever. I haven't taken it, but it's the toad venom DMT, and that brings you to another fucking dimension. They pop it, they smoke it, and they're like, I've been there before. I've been there before. This shows you the power that these people put in. They master the craft of the science of the soul. They master yoga. They master other different practices that allow them to tap into those states. you're tapping into that right away. So if you're not prepared, if you don't have any spiritual grounding practices that you actually put in place, you're not going to be able to come back to reality and find your footing. You're going to slip, you're going to crash out, you're going to frazzle out, you're going to fry out. That's why a lot of people, maybe you guys in your life, in your hometown, that you know kids who took psychedelics, and they're geeked out, they're fried the fuck out, they're deep fried like some McDonald's potatoes, McDonald's French fries. I know these people. They are so lost because they never had any spiritual practices or understanding or information like this, or in the full guide that gives them a little bit of just awareness of what the fuck you're getting into. There's kids I know that were taking DMT at 14, 15 years old because they were bored at home. Like, you crazy, bro. And you can see it in their life right now. First of all, in those developing years, you don't want to fucking rip open your psyche like that. But when you go straight into like the most intense forms of it, and you have no understanding of what you got into, you have no understanding of what these people are talking about, with saying that I've been there before, and read about what they're talking about, then you're going to come back into reality and you're not going to know what is real and what's not. And then that's why they kind of give up on everything in life, not in an aesthetic monk way where they're actually devoting themselves to God and to that spiritual path solely for that, but they give up on everything in life to the point where they're just bums because they don't know what to do. Their brain is literally malfunctioning. One's going this way, the spiritual path, the other one's going the material way, because they're still scrolling on TikTok, but they still understand there's something much more to this reality than that. This is why you need to be careful, bro. This is why you need to be careful. But this is not fear-mongering. I'm not telling you to do psychedelics. I'm not telling you to not do them. I'm just telling you the cold, hard facts, the truth of what you can come to expect before you take your first psychedelic trip, or before you get into the more intense ones, or before you really break through into that spiritual plane through these tools. Because it's not just you take it once and then you're going to go straight into yogi mode, sage mode, super saiyan mode. It's not that. Ambulance is out here. Yeah, that's not the case, bro. You're not going to take it one time and just shoot straight up to these high levels of consciousness. Not only is there blockages that you need to work out through the psychedelic experience with the whole concept of bad trips, and your psyche is kind of showing you all these bad negative karmas and traumas that you have stuck in the back of your head. But once you finally break out of those things, when you actually work out of them through your actual reality, then you uncover layers and layers and layers, and you get to those higher states of consciousness. It's not going to shoot you straight to that point. Matter of fact, one of my friends who took DMT when he was younger in high school told me, he took it twice, so listen to this. He took it at a point where he was kind of just trying a bunch of shit, exploring the whole concept of psychedelics, got into LSD, shrooms, and et cetera, and then he wanted to go straight into DMT. But he didn't take the information and stuff like that from those LSD and those mushroom trips and actually integrating them to his life. He was still kind of going like a rubber band. He would pull it, boom, go right back to his old place. He would pull and get those higher levels of consciousness during the trip, boom, go right back into his general state of consciousness. But when he took DMT, since that is the more intense one, since that one you need more preparation, this shows me how there's actual entities and spirits behind each and every one of these substances. He said, for the people out there that have taken DMT before, you hear about this like kind of like feels like you're about to go on a roller coaster. It goes, zoo, 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 zoo. Everything starts to fractalize, and it feels like you're about to blast off on a rocket. He started blasting off, and then his ego, his persona, his identity started telling him, bro, it's just a drug. It's just a drug. Relax, relax, relax. Because he started freaking out. His heart started beating and stuff like that. And he heard voices that weren't speaking in English. Again, they don't speak in English. They don't speak in audible language, but they speak in messages and stuff like that you know internally. And he said those entities, those energies of the DMT molecule was telling him to let go, let go, let go, let go. And then the ego was fighting against that like it was a threat, saying, dude, you're okay, it's a drug. And everything started going, vroom, vroom, vroom. Everything started to go back into place, and he couldn't break through. And guess what? He had like psychosis for like 2 months. It was like, bro, what the fuck just happened? What was I just about to see that they didn't let me get into? So he tried it again. Same thing happened, but they told him, you are not ready. The entities told him, you are not ready. Or quote unquote, come back to us when you're ready. And then he has not touched it since, because he understands how powerful these things are, that you need to be prepared. Even though you're never going to be prepared for what it's going to show you, you need to have an essential groundwork of certain practices, certain just states of mind, states of being, that you can kind of help to build up that spiritual resiliency, that spiritual willpower, that spiritual understanding of awareness of what these altered states of consciousness are going to be. Because again, you can tap into those things in meditation, but it's going to take a lot of effort, energy, practice to get to those points. But even if you get a little glimpse through meditation, through pranayamas, through the pranayamas I talk about in the private Patreon community, you get a little taste and a little glimpse. It'll still give you a more understanding of what you're getting into. Imagine you've never cliff jumped before, and you and your friends are about to go jump off the highest one. There's a smaller one right now that you can just get a warm-up jump in. That's the same kind of analogy. Get a little warm-up with these pranayamas, these meditations, where you kind of detach the mind and you actually retract your senses and make your focus and attention go inwards. Do that to build up kind of some reps, some kind of muscle memory with this stuff. So when you get into like a crazy version of that, you have some, I'm not saying all, but some groundwork, some footing that you can keep balance on. Because if you don't, you go straight into that, you're not ready. Like I just said, some of these drugs won't even let you get into the party, won't even let you get into the club. They'll look at your ID and be like, hey man, you ain't fucking ready. Your spiritual maturity is not ready. Of course, on ID, if you try to go into a club, they'll see, but okay, you ain't 21, you can't get in. You're not mature enough to drink alcohol or whatever the fuck. You're not spiritually mature enough to actually tap into this realm, and instead of drink alcohol, drink divine nectar. Drink the nectar of immortality. Drink Amrita, Soma, whatever these people, these ancient mystics talk about when it comes to the land flowing with milk and honey. Higher states of consciousness. You're not ready yet. The clubs, the bouncers at that club, at the DMT club, at the Shroom club, at the LSD club is gonna be like, hey bro, get the fuck out. You ain't ready. You ain't old enough. You ain't mature enough. Because if I let you in, you're gonna act out, and you're gonna come out of this club, and police is gonna need me to escort you out because you're acting a fool, and your whole life is gonna be ruined. Same rules apply to the spiritual clubs. So hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down and actually understanding these types of things. If you're about to get into your first psychedelic trip, if you're about to get into your first experience with these altered states of consciousness, take it seriously. Understand that you're tapping into something much more powerful than like weed or than like alcohol or anything like that. It's nothing fucking like that. It's gonna show you your true self. It's gonna show you another side of reality that you never experienced before, that feels more real than this sometimes. And that's gonna lead you to a whole rabbit hole. But if you're ready, you're actually prepared, you understand these concepts. My bad, dog just knocked over the camera. But we're actually doing the spiritual work to get to that point where you can actually start to, oh man, that's a big bug. June bug, look at it. You see it? Oh, just hit it, my bad. But when you're actually doing that work, when you're actually doing these practices, then you'll be more prepared. Then you'll actually be able to, most importantly, take back that information, integrate it into your life through those practices that you've already laid down the groundwork and the foundation for. So let all this stuff meditate in your mind. Let this stuff marinate in your mind before you want to jump straight into the deep end, because I was just like you. But I wish somebody gave me some game so I can absorb it into my brain and not be a motherfucking lame when it comes to the psychedelic realm. Because again, you tap into something completely sacred, completely holy, bro. Don't correlate psychedelics to raves. A lot of people do that. Or psychedelics to hippies. Psychedelics gives you a little taste of self-realization, of spiritual powers, of spiritual realms, when you're done properly. And if you're someone that's interested in more into things about the deeper aspects of life, the secrets of the universe, this can help you. This can truly help you. They're the most potent teachers I've ever had in my life. No book, has ever shown me the stuff that these psychedelics have. No guru has ever shown me the stuff psychedelics have. No podcast has ever shown me what psychedelics have. Those things low-key confirm what I saw and make it more practical and make it more understanding, especially the ancient texts, and make it, oh man, this is what I saw. But no one has ever showed me that stuff other than psychedelics, because it's your higher self giving you the answers. It's the universal codes being given right to you. It's like somebody giving you the answers to this test we call life, but you can't really read that language yet. You weren't fast enough to be able to take a picture to bring it back. You understood, you memorized a couple of them, but it's a gradual process of re-remembering that stuff, because this type of information you can't find anywhere. This is why, again, this brand, this channel, the messages I give out to you guys with Fulati Fitness is all about giving you the tools, whether it's psychedelics, whether it's semen retention, whether that's pranayama, meditation, shadow work, all these stuff that we talk about on this channel, on the main channel, on the private Patreon community, within my personalized coaching packages, my one-on-one consultations, all that good stuff, are just tools to help you access that divine knowledge and that divine wisdom, that divine gnosis that you have already within, that's just waiting to be awakened when you tap into these higher states of consciousness. Again, there's blockages, there's blockades, there's different trauma, there's different turmoil that you need to work out before you tap into those doors. Imagine these doors have like a lock. I have a bunch of barricades around them. You need to break out of those barricades with these practices and these tools to open up that door. When you open up that door, you get into another level of consciousness. Will give you more understanding of what your purpose is, who you are, more understanding about just life in general, which will bleed on over to everything. That's why spiritual knowledge, in my opinion, and psychology, biohacking, all these things are giving you deeper understandings of yourself and helping you master yourself, not just improve yourself like you see on the general surface level self-improvement channels on YouTube, but actually master it, take it to the next level, to the people who truly want to become the best version of themselves on all planes of reality, the mental, the physical, and the spiritual, in order to reach their highest fucking potential. All these things are just tools. I can't give you the answers. The book can't give you the answers. That guy's podcast can't give you the answers. My consultations, my coaching packages can't give you the answers. It can give you directions and tools to get to that point, but at the end of the day, you need to go out there and do it. You need to go out there and uncover that divine knowledge that you have that only you can access. Psychedelics may help you along that path, may or may not. It's helped me on that path, and I understand how it can help you on that path if you're someone who connects with this, who's picking up what I'm putting down. That's why I made the full guide. That's why I'm making these types of videos and stuff like that. I understand those people out there who are like me on that path. I'm just giving you some information and knowledge and the tools to help accelerate that, so you don't have to go through some of the kind of the blockages, the barriers, the overall the roadblocks and the detours. The better information and knowledge you get, the only point of it is to streamline your path, streamline your progress, make it more seamless. And hopefully this video, this channel, this brand, this message, and all that good stuff is helping you along that path. But at the end of the day, remember, it's you and your own spiritual evolution. You have a higher self that's going to guide you to that, and you have the lower self that's pulling you away from that. Society is helping you, is giving you all the tools to help you tap into the lower self, while things like this channel, this message, books, and all that stuff is giving you the tools to tap into the higher. It's your choice at the end of the day. Your choice. So what's it going to be, bro? Are you going to keep continuing this path of mediocrity, of just overall kind of defending the ego, the personality, and all that stuff that you were bred to by society? Or are you going to finally say enough is enough? I want to tap into my true self. I want to just get a glimpse. And maybe it's through psychedelics. Maybe it's through other spiritual practices. But I want to just get a taste. And once you get that taste, there ain't no going back. There ain't no going back. It's like the red pill in the Matrix. You can take the blue pill, ignorance is bliss, keep flowing with what society wants you to do and their agendas, or you take the red pill and you see the truth, but the truth some people can't handle. The truth is a hard pill to swallow. Pause. But if you take this, there ain't no going back. But it'll give you true liberation and freedom, which is not something that's like all sunshine and rainbows and all that, but it takes effort and knowledge to keep continuing that path. That's what the psychedelic journey really is, bro. So hopefully this stuff helped you out, because it's been your boy out here in the field, in the flesh, dropping y'all that motherfucking game so you guys can make these motherfucking gains. And I'm out of here. Peace.